Meantime, recovery efforts from Hurricane Helene, which has now claimed at least 230 lives, continue across the southeastern United States. Officials are tackling storm damage and misinformation related to the storm. Let's bring in Julia Coyne. She is a reporter with the Charlotte Observer. She's been out in the field covering the hurricane's devastating impact on North Carolina. Her newspaper, in fact, has a reality check page to fact-check misinformation related to the hurricane and the recovery efforts. And Julia, we want to thank you for being with us. I know you've been out on the ground there. Tell us, first of all, what you've seen in terms of the devastation. And by the way, you're someone who comes from Sanibel Island in Florida. You have seen hurricanes before, but what did you think of what you saw this time?
Yeah, so I've been on the ground and also up in the air in embedding with pilots who are using helicopters to airdrop supplies. And also pilots who are in small bush planes, surveying the damage, trying to see if roads are accessible, if anyone's sending smoke signals, that sort of thing. So I've been both on the ground and in the air, seeing the damage, and it's extensive. It's eerie how common the sights become, both when you're walking around and flying above, just seeing all of the devastation in the area.
I mean, I've been reading about how they're still trying to recover bodies at this point, going out with cadaver dogs, taking them on the rivers, trying to sort through the debris that's piled up all over the place. This is a horrible situation. There have been lots of concerns about the abilities of the rescue efforts. What would you say with what you've seen?
Yeah, so I have been mostly involved with volunteers on the ground. I've met a few organizations leading relief efforts and rescue efforts that have brought those dogs out. I haven't heard numbers above 1 or 2 bodies recovered per town, but of course those numbers continue to develop every day.
What do you think about FEMA's response to this? There have been a lot of accusations that have been made that FEMA is not doing enough, that they weren't prepared for this, that they are turning away some of the local volunteers who've been trying to bring things in. Is that the case?
I've not seen that. Again, I have been involved with those volunteers and talking to people on the ground. So I can only speak to what I've run into in those situations. And I can say that a lot of people who are in these very isolated communities say that they haven't seen government efforts. But again, that's just what they're seeing in these very small towns that only locals really know how to navigate.
Right. What is most needed at this point? What do the people there say that they would need from the outside, whether that be volunteers or the government?
Yeah, these people are, they're self-described stubborn people. So when we show up with supplies, at this point, most of them are pretty set. They are still asking for diapers above the size of 5, and efforts are now shifting to keep people warm as cold weather rolls in. That could mean blankets, socks, coats, that sort of thing.
I know one of the places that you went was to rescue a 70-year-old woman and her dog. She was running short on medical supplies. And that's really another layer of things we haven't talked about. Even if you were there and you were supplied for things, you may not have anticipated that you'd need 2, 3, 4 weeks of medication or other items. How big is the need for that?
Right. So in that area specifically, they received a few days of rain before the storm came. So this woman's doctor's appointment was canceled, and she did not have her heart medicine even before Helene came. So I was with a helicopter who was able to lift her out. But that's just one story of many. That's why access to roads and areas to land have become so important, because that's the only way to get to these areas and get people, a large population of who are elderly, the stuff that they need to continue.